Welcome to our Savvy series. I'm Catherine Magaña here with Rachel Ivanovich, and today we're going to discuss summer estate planning essentials no woman should ignore. So here we are, we're in the middle of summer, school's out, family's in, schedules are a little crazy.
I just got back from vacation.
I just got back from vacation, 2-week vacation. There's weddings, vacations, reunions, and so it's actually the perfect time to be thinking about your family and what's important. And
didn't you redo your estate plan right before you went on vacation?
I did. So it was interesting. We were heading out of town, and I decided to review my trust.
It's kind of weird that we think about that.
I know. I was like, I was like, what happens if, this happens?
We all die together.
I know. And then I had my sister with us, and she was one of the, she's our executor, and she was going to inherit, some money. And then I figured, well, if something, if she was still alive and something happened to her, it would go to my parents. Well, after we reviewed our estate plan, we realized if something happened to my sister, it was all going to go to one person, and so it wasn't going to be allocated the way that we thought. So long story short, we're reaching out to our estate planning attorney, making a slight amendment right before we left, and then that also prompted us to look at our trust and kind of revisit. There's a lot of things that have changed. I mean, our kids are now 16. When we did the trust, I think they were 12 or 13 years old. And so now that they're getting a little older, we're kind of having a different view of who they are and kind of what we want to happen if something happens to us. So now we need to do a deeper dive and really review the estate. But I think it's common. A lot of people before they travel, because we had another client came in
just the other day.
Yeah, and he was like, "My wife just left town and she's calling her sister and just telling her certain things." And I was like, "Oh, that was me. That's me. Like that's how I react. Is just you start thinking about things when you want to make sure your estate's in order. So that's definitely the perfect time to check and look at your trust and your wills, and do you need to make any changes or amendments, and are you newly married, are you divorced? I mean, are there any changes that you need to
and
look
make sure
at?
somebody knows where all your passwords are.
Oh yeah, that's kind of critical too. Yes. And also, where are your documents, and making sure that everybody knows that too. But so it's, here we are. So we do think it's important to review your estate as we're here now. And it looks like July 4th, there was the One Big Beautiful Bill Act that was approved, and so there's some changes to the estate limits.
A lot of changes that are going into effect, but we'll just touch on a couple of them. So in regards to estate planning, of course, OBA, or the One Big Beautiful Bill Act, introduced, they permanently extended and increased the federal estate and gift tax exclusion amount. So it used to be 13.9 per individual. Now, of course, it's been increased to 15 million, that's a pretty big jump. So that means it's 30 million per married couple, and it is indexed for inflation. And this is for estates if you pass away during 2025, so going forward in 2026.
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of people were a little worried because it was
going to go back to about $7 million, and people didn't know what was going to happen. So that's definitely good that we can, now we can do our planning, at least. I mean, permanent, that means until they change the law again. So permanent's not necessarily permanent.
So if you don't have a will or a trust, we definitely suggest consulting with an estate planning attorney. And we do have a few in mind if you need a couple references. And also, once again, or if you do need to update your will and trust, when was the last time you reviewed that? Also, do you have your powers of attorney? So do you have your health directives and your financial directives and everything in place?
I think people don't realize when their kids turn 18 that the kids need these too.
Oh, yeah. That's important.
We had an issue with one of our kids that was then 18, 19 years old, was admitted to the hospital, and then the doctors wouldn't talk to us. And we're like, wait, we're the parents. Yeah. And they're no longer minors. And so you definitely want to get that in place. And same thing with financial powers of attorney for your adult children. Make sure you have those as well.
Well, it's definitely important, and as we're talking about powers of attorney, I know when I did mine a few years ago for the health directive. At the time, told Jocelyn, I said, okay, keep me alive, do not resuscitate, like I want to be here, whatever it takes. Well, unfortunately, life's happened, and I have had some illnesses in my family, and my sister passed away a few years ago, and going through that with her and seeing, it made me kind of realize maybe there might be some circumstances where I don't want to, you don't have to keep me alive. And so it's just, it's having those conversations.
It's a hard discussion to have, though, because you don't want to think about it.
No, and then everyone's different. Some people are like, no, I don't, don't keep me alive. And but it's morbid, but you do need to have these conversations. Not when you're sick and not feeling well. I think this is the time.
Well, I think it's also because you don't want to have to make that decision in the moment. Yeah. And I would never want to do that to my spouse, to have, make him make that decision. Do I keep her alive or not?
Yeah. And then also, there's that level of care. If you do become terminally ill, some people want to be at home and some people want to be somewhere else. So kind of have, there are tough conversations, but it is important, I think, to know the wishes, especially, because things do happen in life. So the other thing that comes up is beneficiary designations. So you have retirement accounts, life insurance, annuities. I mean, you have a lot of different types of investments. For retirement accounts, there could be 401ks, 403bs, or simple plans, or some type of retirement. And there's also IRAs and Roth IRAs, which are individual retirement accounts. And so with that, you can designate different beneficiaries. And so this comes up very often.
Very often.
And so a lot of clients call and say, I want my trust as the beneficiary. And once again...
You may not want that.
Yes. So once again, it's case by case.
It is, absolutely.
But we look at primary, are you married? And usually if you're married, you want the spouse.
And if you get divorced...
Yes, you want to change that.
Because we had a client who came in and this was a terrible situation where they passed away. They didn't change the beneficiary, and it went to a former spouse.
Yeah.
And then the current spouse was like, wait, what happened? So you definitely want to be reviewing that when you have those those milestone moments in your life.
And then the other thing that we've recently seen is also perhaps maybe you're looking not just at your IRA beneficiaries, but your overall kind of estate and plan. Maybe you have a lot of real estate, and you potentially may get a step up in basis depending on how it's structured. And so you may decide to give some of that to a family member and maybe designate your IRAs to charities. So there's different ways you can do.
And why would you do that, Catherine? Because the charity's not going to pay any tax when the IRA goes to the charity. And if the real estate goes to your children, then they don't have to pay tax if they sell it.
So there's some tax planning.
There's some definite tax planning that goes on there.
Yeah. So we're here to help you if you want us to review your current situation, look at your beneficiaries, have those conversations. We're happy to set up a consultation. You can reach us at 760-692-5700. And so kind of continuing the conversation on estate planning, obviously looking at your legacy. Is there any charitable giving that you want to do, or do you want to, the money last just for your life, or, just kind of looking at what does your future look like and what do you want with your estate, and that is different for everybody.
Yeah, we were talking about that with some new clients just the other day because they've got their children, their grandchildren, and they they want their money to last, but they also want to leave that money to their kids and be able to provide for their kids' education or grandkids' education. But one of the other things they're talking about, and I was just talking to a client that they have random things around their house and. How do we leave these to our kids? And for us, it has this story behind it. So they're talking about and I don't know if you were there for the conversation, but they were talking about maybe we make videos about the different things in our house, or our children understand like why we have certain things in our house.
Well, you're right. Like there's family heirlooms or stories or things that you have. It's interesting as you share that. We actually did a Savvy Woman show a few months back with Rachel Arbuckle, who owns 2,000 Pieces.
Right.
And she has a business and she helps families kind of restore photos, organize.
She does a great job too.
Yeah, and so it's kind of like when what is that legacy you're leaving in not just a box of photos. It's like they really put that.
We were just at a friend's house this weekend for a milestone birthday, and we walked into one of theirs house, and in the corner was an urn of his mom had passed away, and in front of it was a picture of mom from years and years ago, but there was no. And I said, how old was your mom in that picture? And he didn't even know.
Oh, really?
No.
Okay.
So we actually asked AI. We took a picture of it and asked
you?
AI.
We're like,
it up? Because the hair turned out to be like 1987 or something.
Oh, funny. You're like, that looks like the feather bags.
I do. I took the picture out of the frame. I was like, maybe it's written on the back, but it wasn't. So anyway, AI thought it was 1997 or 87.
Funny.
Yeah.
So I do think it's, once again, how are you leaving? Is it money? Are there items? And, also considering, are there grandkids? Are you helping, or do you want to help fund some of their education? Something that we see as well.
But I think it's really important to communicate your wishes to the people who matter in your life, because otherwise they're just going to be guessing.
Yeah. Well, and then, once again, it seems to me a lot of this comes up when you're like in your 40s and 50s. Sometimes you're just living your life and you're not thinking about these types of things, but I really think at any age.
Yeah, I experienced that last summer and the summer before, when we had to go up to my uncle's house in Alaska, and then we went out to my aunt's house in Minnesota. They passed away unexpectedly. I mean, we didn't expect them to pass away. They were really young. And going through their house, there were so many different things and treasures, and they didn't have a will. My uncle had a will, but it got thrown out. But,
oh, goodness.
But I know. Yeah, but my aunt didn't have anything in place, and I wished that there were things like notes left, like this is why, the story behind this little treasure that I have, or, and some of the things were worth money, but some of them I just didn't even know.
Yeah.
And my uncle had this huge collection of ivory, and that, like, where did you get these little pieces and these little animals and so on? But
I think it's hard when you're going through
life,
somebody else's like items and the personal. Like even with my sister at the end, like when they were selling her home, and literally we were trying to help, and finally we were just putting stuff out on the garage, for a garage sale, and people were just coming and taking stuff literally out of our hands as we're putting it down, and you're like, once again, are there certain things that we didn't feel like we had a lot of time to like really review.
Isn't there something in Norway or Sweden where they call it, like, they give away their things before they pass away, where they go basically the tidying up of the house before you pass, like you pass along those treasures to the people that you want, Swedish death cleaning or something like that?
Well, my sister did give me some jewelry, so I knew there were like really, really valuable stuff. But still, I think it's sometimes when you're in that mode of getting things done, you don't have that time to really reflect, and it would be nice, like you said, if you had
a list of
memories.
This person. Actually, my grandmother did that. There were some things she taped underneath certain things. This is for I have a couple of items that she gave me that she wanted me to specifically have. So I thought that was sweet.
Nice.
But
well, as we are here in the summer, this is a great time. You've probably been spending time with family and friends, and so a perfect time to ensure that your estate is in order. We're here to be a resource for you. We also know some estate planning attorneys if you need a reference, or if you just want to talk about your current situation. I know we talked about beneficiaries and tax planning, and so there's a lot of moving parts. But if you'd like to set up a complimentary strategy session with us or call us, you can reach us at 760-692-5700. Once again, that's 760-692-5700. And thank you for getting savvy with us today about your finances. And until next time, remember to savvy up. Please stay tuned for important disclosures. The opinions expressed in this program are for general informational purposes only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual or any specific security. It is only intended to provide education about the financial industry. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult your financial advisor prior to investing. Any past performance discussed during this program is no guarantee of future results, and the indices referenced for comparison are unmanaged and cannot be invested into directly. As always, please remember investing involves risk and possible loss of principal capital. Please seek advice from a licensed professional. Savvy Woman Wealth Management is a registered investment advisor with the SEC.